Well, in the video game world, especially in Fallout, a lot of people know who Chris Avellone is. And recently he was brought under fire and was let go and had developers turn their backs on the person because he was accused. Well, first off, he did write for Dungeons and Dragons back a long time ago, but he's mostly a video game designer and comic book writer. Worked with Interplay and Obsidian Entertainment as a freelancer, role-playing games such as Planescape Torment and the Fallout series. It's easy enough to go to the Wikipedia, but he is a larger name known in and around the world. He worked on games like Icewind Dale and the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, which this is an older version. I gotta say, the new Dark Alliance that came out was not that great. The blur motion made it very impossible to play that game. But he had allegations come back on him back in June, I believe it was 2021. Yeah, June 2021, when the news kind of broke. I think it was roughly just below. Before that, Chris Kahn of Forbes, he's a journalist that I tend to turn to in a lot of cases for this writing because he tends to have a better idea on what's going on here. Fallout writer Chris Avellone and his accusers issue joint statement, settle lawsuit. So back in June, it was reported possible sexual assault on Twitter. Chris publicly denied the accusations and announced he was taking both of them to court. When the initial case was dismissed by a California court on jurisdiction grounds, Avellone filed the lawsuit in Illinois. So this was a counter suit to it. Now, nearly 2 years later, the case has been settled. Avallone's accuser, Karissa Barrows and Kelly Bristol, have signed a joint statement retracting their previously claims and clearing Avellone of wrongdoing, stating that their original claims were misinterpreted. The settlement agreement provided for seven-figure payment to Mr. Avellone. This is a big news topic in that sense because everything that's gone on in the last few years over the Me Too movement, over just allegations of wrongdoing. We just saw this with Justin Rowland. We saw this with Johnny Depp over AH. And there is so many things, and it just keeps snowballing. And today we're seeing another win for the person that's been accused, but it doesn't mean the damage isn't done. He's getting a seven-figure payment out of this, which is absolutely insane. In a blog post titled Joint Statement from Karissa Barrows, Kelly Bristol, and Chris Avellone, they write the parties resolved the matter and claims were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they cannot bring the claims against them again, to a confidential statement that provides for a seven-figure payment that includes the return of attorney fees award entered against Mr. Avellone in California. I understand Ms. Barrows has requested to retract her comments to the social media about me. I've received a copy of this. Copy of the below statement from Mr. Avallone's lawyers. The statement from Barrows and Bistro reads, after engaging with Mr. Avellone, we have prepared the following statement. Mr. Avellone never sexually abused either of us. We have no knowledge that he was ever sexually abusive to women. We have no knowledge that Mr. Avellone was ever misused corporate funds. Anything we have previously said or written about Mr. Avellone to the contrary was not our intent. We wanted to support women in the industry. In so doing, our words have been misinterpreted to suggest specific allegations of misconduct that were neither expressed nor intended. We are passionate about the safety, security, and agency of women, minorities, LGBTQ plus peoples, and every other community that has seen prosecution in the video game industry. We believe Mr. Avellone shares a desire to protect and uplift those communities. We believe that he deserves a full return to the industry and support him in those endeavors. And from the fallout of this, Chris even has a list that he went through, and he went through this list and he said, you know what? There's no real loss here. He didn't lose any real friends because his friends knew he was innocent. It's just now he's got to rebuild on the damage that this really has done. And this is a fallout of what we see with social media now and again. Twitter is fueling a lot of these allegations, and it's like playing telephone on Twitter. One person says something, then the next person says something, and the first tweet gets deleted. And then the next person says something, and then that gets deleted. And then it just snowballs out of control. And when you play telephone with Twitter and social media, things get misinterpreted, as we can see here. And it goes on and on. It's absolutely getting ridiculous. I'm glad people are starting to be able to clear their name years after all these things have happened. But those years you can never get back. There is now years of life taken away from a lot of these people that are falsely accused, and it continues. It goes on and on and on. It's absolutely getting ridiculous. And Eric here is showing on his Twitter the actual statement that was made. It's just not cool. If we go into Chris's profile here, ending the silence, this is back in June 26. He's got that pinned, and then everything else for what happened here with the understandings of the situation. So hopefully going forward, he can move along, he can gain back where he was in the industry. Hopefully this doesn't push him too far back in the industry, but ultimately it's absolutely ridiculous that we have to be talking about these things over and over again over another person getting falsely accused. I hope this is starting to drill in some sense here that you can, if you're going to falsely accuse, you're going to end up paying, because the defamation and everything that's harmful to them continues to happen. Anyway, I'm your proud Canadian Phoenix. Don't forget to like and subscribe. A little bit of a quick one here. Don't forget to have a great day.